Chapter 5, I'd like to bring to you the discussions of recalls in California history. I'm Professor Cohen. According to Article 2 from the California Constitution, citizens of the state have the right to initiate a recall election. We just did this with Governor Newsom in 2021. He did not lose and retained his job. This rule applies to both state and local officials, but does not apply to federal officials. Also, citizens can recall judges of courts of appeal and trial courts in California. The proponent fills out an intent to recall petition that needs to be signed by 65 voters to start the petition process. In the actual petition, signatures must be equal to the percentage of the total number of votes most recently cast in the target office. For example, 12% of executive officials and 20% for state legislators off of the prior election. The petition must consist of signatures of each of the last 5 counties, of at least 5 counties, equal in number to 1% of the last vote in the office for that county. For officials in the city, county, school district, board of education, or any resident voting district, signatures from the following percentage of registered voters is required: 30% in jurisdictions with less than 1,000 voters, 25% with under 1,000 to 10,000, 20% in jurisdictions with 10 to 50, 15% and 50 to 100,000, 10% in jurisdictions with 100,000 registered voters or more. According to Section 14 of Article 2 of the California Constitution, the required petition for a recall is 20% of votes cast for the judge in the last election rather than the percentage registered. In the case of a county superior judge position that did not appear on the ballot at the last relevant election, signature equaling 20% of votes cast, whichever countywide office received the least total number of votes in the most recent general election in the judge's county must be collected in order to recall a judge on the ballot. Now, the language used in recalls. The language in the recall provision is strictly procedural. Substantive grounds for recalls are not specified. So anybody can be recalled for any reason. Recalls can be launched to remove corrupt officials and to remove officials whose policies and performance are found wanting. The basic concepts of recall is to give a notice of intent, to deliver to the officer to be recalled, publication of the notice to intent, officials answer, sample ballots, and petition forms. When there is a recall, replacement candidates are selected. The state has either a state recall, local recall, and then in the end, we'll have election results. On the election ballot, voters are asked the following. They're asked, shall any name of the officer be recalled from office? Additionally, under the recall question, the ballot will include a list of the candidates to take place of the officials submitted for recall in the event of a successful recall vote. The list of candidates must include a space for voters to write in a candidate of their own. Many controversies are associated with recalls: populism, polarization of corruption, and distrust of the masses. Any of these things can lead to people wanting to recall their leaders. In open primary elections, the most significant developments in the laws regulating elections can be found in the legislation in its various forms from 1913. These provisions mainly focus on strengthening the direct primary for party nominations, the growth of nonpartisan primary and election for judges and municipal officers, and the gradual adoption of the short ballot principle and the extension of corrupt practices of prevention measures. Under new California laws, voters receive by mail sample primary ballots if they are registered for primaries, and now it's signed into law in California, all voters will receive votes by mail. A new check against fraudulent ballots is in the use in Nevada of specifically watermarked paper, arranged to show a watermark when the ballot is folded. The design is changed from year to year, and that's an example of other states that try to prevent voter fraud. Proposition 62 in California refers to a single primary ballot in which all state and congressional candidates are presented together, no matter their party affiliation. Top 2 candidates with the most votes for each office would appear in the general election ballot, even if they receive 2 majority votes, 80 to 90%, even if both were from the same party. So Proposition 62 is an interesting progression forward for California, because it doesn't mean that you have to have one Democrat or one Republican. You just take the top 2 candidates in a primary ballot. These are some highlights from the chapter, and I look forward to continuing to learn more with you.